What we've been doing up until now with the gesture drawing, the structure drawing, dealing with negative space, we're we're trying to get proportion and structure. We're trying to get the drawing started. So gesture drawing was a more responsive way. It's more touch connected your sense of touch to your saccadic eye movements. It's a little more realistic and three-dimensional approach, but it's quick notational drawing. Then structure drawing and dealing with negative space is a slower, more analytical way of drawing, and it's flat screen stuff. So we've gotten like the basic architecture to start trying to hang details onto. Now we're going to look at using line to also help structure a surface. Not detail yet, but surface structure using line. So there's a few different types of line that we're going to talk about. In this lecture, we're going to talk about two types, and we're going to go practice one, and then the next set of assignments will deal with the third type of line. The first type of line that we need to define is outline. Outline is one continuous line which delineates the perceived boundary between an object and its background. This is pretty much the same thing as positive shape and negative shape that we talked about last time. Remember, I talked about the idea of line as being a perimeter first way of thinking about shape, and then last time we were dealing with area first. This is just the perimeter first way of separating an object from the background. And remember, that's an evolutionary thing that we developed so that our brains aren't wasting too much mental resources processing information in the background. We're just going to focus on the important objects. So like in this case, we're going to separate the monkey out with an outline or a positive shape to say that's the thing that we should be paying attention to, and we don't need to devote brain resources to anything else in the image. This is also, you can see, a matter of edge detection. So if you're looking at the Alfred Yarbus images, and we remember we looked at the edge detection. Humans and most animals really care about edge detection because of the fact that it separates an object out from a background and it allows us to pay attention to things. So a lot of you are prone to edge detection. You're prone to doing outline, and you're prone to using line in general. And over the course of the semester, I'm probably going to keep harping on you, like, we need to move away from edge detection. We need to quit using line as much. We need to start seeing area first. But there's really good reasons from evolution that you are programmed to be that way, and that has to do with separating objects out. It also has a little bit to do with your iconic brain. Remember, you don't really care about all the details. You just care about being able to use the thing. And so it's very helpful to just create an outline. And when we do that, we get these icons. So like I was talking about the icon of the door, or if we put up a hand, we'll get the icon of the hand here. Now this works pretty well if we're just trying to represent the idea of hand. Maybe all right if we're representing like a high five hand. The problem with outline though is it flattens everything down. And if they're also, we'll call these Thanksgiving turkeys, because that's pretty much the only real good thing that an outline is useful for, is you take one of these and turn it into a turkey. So I'll say that throughout the semester too. You're doing Thanksgiving turkeys, no more turkeys. That works well as for a representation of a hand if the hand's in the high five motion and it fits our cartoon brain. But if a hand is like this and it doesn't fit our cartoon brain of a hand at all, and we just put an outline of it, you lose all of the overlap of the fingers, right? So you don't get something that looks like a hand at all. It will not match your icon brain, and it looks more like someone kneeling down with their hands out crying or something like that. If you had not seen this first, you would not look at that and think that it's a hand. So you may do a perfect job. You may have an image like this, and you'll do a perfect job doing an outline. It looks exactly like as if you traced it, but you're going to look at it and think, oh my God, I got it wrong. And you're going to start trying to make corrections to make it look more like this. And then you wind up with really weird drawings where you're halfway between reality and your cartoon brain. We don't want that. I'm telling you about outline to make sure that you never do outline. Don't ever do an outline and then fill in the details. What we want to do is called contour line. Contour line is where we break up edges into, like, each edge gets its own line. We break it up into a series of lines. So you'll see here that this part of the finger overlaps this part of the finger. This part would connect back here and connect over. So I'll do one line that goes to like the fingernail, and that hovers above the line that represents this. And this line even disappears before it hits the edge. Same here. This finger is like a totally different object. They're not connected at all. Makes no sense to go along and do one line connecting these two objects. They're an inch apart or more in space. So I'll have another line that represents this here, a third line that represents the little meat of where the finger touches the palm. Notice that I'm also leaving gaps in between the lines. If I let this line disappear on the paper, it's like a visual metaphor for the object disappearing back behind a finger, and a visual metaphor for that this line represents an object that's disconnected from this line, because the lines aren't connected. Now, some places I let the lines connect, so you don't always have to try and keep them apart, but it's good to have these gaps. And you'll see in this image, I get a much better sense of the structure of the surface of the object as the edges exist through space. We get a sense of overlap and space because of contour line. You don't even really need the contour lines to go around everything. This idea of these gaps, your brain will fill in the gaps. Remember, your eyes are already only picking up little bits of information, and your brain is stitching it together into an illusion of an image. So your brain is used to resolving holes in information. If you give too much information, it's actually unnatural. If you leave gaps like in this Egon Schiele, or if you leave entire edges off, like in this image I found on Instagram the other day by Cassie Q Jung Woo, these specific edges, the contour lines, will create a sense of connect the dots, and your brain is more than happy to fill in those dots. It will match its experience of reality. So in a line drawing, if you're doing that, you'll make it actually feel more realistic to have those little gaps. Something else that we can deal with when we're dealing with contour or just line in general is changes in line weight. By line weight, we just mean changes in the thinness or thickness of it. And we've already dealt with this when we were dealing with changes in line weight with pressure when we did scribble drawing, right? So line weight helps you get a sense of shadow sometimes, like up here under the hat. It would just get weight or gravity, like in the belly. It can make things feel closer or further away. So like a thicker line is going to feel closer, a thinner line will feel further away. And you'll see the difference between these two images, one with no line weight and one with a lot of line weight. This one just feels more three-dimensional, more bouncy, more present, more alive. So we want to be using line weight as we go. You'll see in this drawing by Gustav Klimt that he's using all of these things to make a very good structure of an object's edges in space. So we have the model laying down here, and her one leg is tucked back with the calf hanging over the thigh here. Now, if he would have gone around and done an outline all the way around here, actually, let me just go ahead and do that. If Klimt would have come along and done one single outline like this, all the way around the image, it would have flattened the image down too far. This butt right here is way in front of the calf right here. There's a whole thigh there, so 1.5 feet worth of human meat in between those two things. So by him having this line come here and stop, and then this line be its own thing, he's showing that those are disconnected through space. And then notice that this line comes down and connects to here, and then the belly pops out from behind it. Okay, that sets up a structure of the space much better. Over here we have a change in line weight. So this line seems like it just keeps coming out from down there. So it pops up, and then as it comes back here, the line weight changes and it just disappears as it heads back behind the head. So that shows that this is disappearing behind the head. On the thigh here, we get, this is where contour gets really interesting to me, is we get this sense of where the calf goes from being behind to all of a sudden the ankle being in front of the thigh. So here you have one line, that's the meat of the thigh, and that is in front of the calf. And then right here, the calf gets one little line. Sorry, I don't know what's going on here. Woo! My tools just got crazy. Okay, you'll get that one little line there that represents the calf all of a sudden coming up in front. And then this line here is then the ankle coming up in front and the heel hanging over. And then you get another line right here that is then the meat of the thigh behind the calf and the ankle. So that stack of 1, 2, 3, 4 lines really structures the space in that area. That's the kind of stuff that we want to be looking for in the drawings that we'll be doing based on weighted contour. So by weighted contour, I mean contour lines only with changes in line weight. And here's some good student examples. The images that I'll be giving you are these skulls and shoes and things like this. So you'll see on these images that there's a lot of gaps. There's like this line is in front of this line, is in front of this line, which is behind this line. All throughout here, the things that are closer to us have a little bit thicker line weight. The things that are further away from us have thinner line weight. I'll do a demo to show you one thing to avoid, which is we don't want to have, like here they went and colored back over a line to make it thicker. That will make the line look a little clogged up. So we don't want to be doing that. We just whatever range of line weight your tool naturally gets you. This is a really good one here. You'll see again changes in line weight for some of the textural details and then thicker lines for the things on the outside. Up here there's this gap where it's like the tag goes back behind the boot, and so they leave the gap to show that it's disappearing. Notice again that they don't do one long outline around everything. The shoe is like different patches of leather, so you have a line that follows this patch to here. This patch of leather follows around to here. It doesn't connect down to here because this is something entirely different glued on the bottom, so this gets its own line. This line overlaps. That's what we're looking for. That's what I'm looking for in these weighted contour drawings, is that you're using contour, you're using the gaps, you're using the sense of overlap, and you're using the sense of line weight to structure the surface of the edges of an object.